Welcome to the world of science fiction story, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel. Enjoy the listening. Aliens killed a dozen of us. We wiped them off the galactic map. The day the sky cracked open, we didn't know what hit us. It was a Tuesday mid-morning, and the air smelled like burnt ozone, like a storm was brewing, except there wasn't a cloud in sight. I was hauling cargo crates with Jessa and Malik down to the colony's edge, a dusty little outpost we'd scratched out of Titan's crust. 12 of us were out there, sweating through our suits, laughing about some dumb joke Malik had cracked about the governor's new beard. Then came the sound, a low guttural hum that rattled your teeth, and before we could even look up, the first beam sliced through the ground like a knife through butter. Jessa went down first, her scream cut short as her suit split open, spilling red across the orange dirt. Malik shoved me behind a crate just as another beam took him, his body folding in half like a rag doll. I didn't see the rest die. I just heard the chaos, shouts, static over the comms, then silence. They came from nowhere, those bastards. Ships like jagged teeth hovering over us, black and gleaming, spitting fire that melted steel and bone alike. 12 of us gone in under a minute. 12 lives snuffed out like they didn't mean a damn thing. I survived because I crawled under a busted crate and held my breath until my lungs burned, watching through a crack as they scanned the wreckage, their drones buzzing like flies over a corpse. I don't know why they didn't finish the job. Maybe they thought we were too small to matter. Just ants under their boots. That was their first mistake. Back at the main HFY, the news hit like a shockwave. Governor Patel called it an unprovoked attack. Unprovoked. Hell, we didn't even know these things existed until they turned our friends to ash. The survivors, me included, stumbled into the mess hall, faces pale, hands shaking. Someone said they'd picked up a signal just before the strike. A garbled mess of clicks and screeches. Alien. That's what they were calling them. No name, no face, just a word that tasted like bile. The room erupted. People yelling, crying, demanding answers. Patel tried to calm us, his voice steady but his eyes wild. "We're reaching out to Earth," he said. "Fleet Command's been alerted. Help's coming." But I saw the truth in the way his hands gripped the podium. Earth was months away. Help wasn't coming fast enough. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jess's face. The way it froze mid-scream, or Malik's body crumpling like paper. I kept replaying it, wondering why I'd lived when they hadn't. Guilt gnawed at me, but under it, something hotter was growing. Rage, pure and sharp, like a blade sharpening itself. I wasn't the only one. By morning, whispers were spreading through the colony. People weren't waiting for Earth. They wanted blood. Tanner, our chief mechanic, was already in the hangar, rigging drones with whatever explosives we had left. "They think they can hit us and walk away," he growled, slamming a wrench against a workbench. "We've got ships. We've got weapons. We've got something they don't. Us." He wasn't wrong. Titan wasn't some cushy core world settlement. We were roughnecks, miners, exiles, people who'd fought tooth and nail for every scrap we had. The aliens might have had tech that made our gear look like toys. But we had grit, and we had numbers. The colony had 36 scout ships, patched up relics from the expansion wars, and a couple of freighters we could arm if we stripped them down. Patel tried to shut it down, preaching caution, but the crowd drowned him out. "They killed our people," someone shouted. I think it was Lena, her voice raw from crying over her brother. "What's stopping them from coming back?" That's when I spoke up. I didn't plan to, but the words came anyway, loud and steady, cutting through the noise. "They won't stop. Not unless we make them." Heads turned, eyes locked on me. I wasn't a leader, just a grunt who dodged death by dumb luck. But right then, I felt it. The weight of their anger matching mine. "We hit them back," I said. "Hard. We find them. and we make sure they never forget us." The room went quiet, then exploded again, this time with purpose. Tanner grinned, a feral edge to it, and clapped me on the shoulder. "You're damn right, kid. Let's give them hell." By noon, we were moving. Techs welding warheads to ship hulls, pilots running sims, everyone pitching in. Patel gave up arguing and started helping, his hands dirty with grease by sundown. We didn't know where the aliens came from. Not yet, but we had their signal, and we had a plan. Track it, hunt them, end them. They'd killed a dozen of us, a dozen lives we'd never get back. But we were thousands, and we were pissed. They'd lit the match. Now they'd burn. The next few days were a blur of sweat, steel, and sleepless nights. The hangar became our war room, a mess of sparking welders, clanging tools, and voices shouting over the hum of engines. We didn't have much, just a ragtag fleet of scout ships and freighters patched together with spit and spite. But we made it work. Tanner took charge of the mods, barking orders like a drill sergeant, his hands black with oil as he rigged plasma cutters into makeshift cannons. I stuck close, hauling ammo crates and running diagnostics. Anything to keep my mind off the ghosts trailing me. Every time I blinked, I saw Jess's blood soaking the dirt, Malik's body folding under that beam. It wasn't just grief anymore. It was fuel. We cracked the alien signal by the third day. Lena, our comms tech, had been hunched over her console nonstop, her eyes red-rimmed but fierce. She'd lost her brother in the attack, and you could hear it in her voice when she called us over. "Got it," she said, slamming a fist on the table. "It's faint, but it's a trail. Coordinates bouncing off a relay in the Kuiper Belt. They're out there, hiding." The room went electric. People crowded around, staring at the flickering hologram map as it traced a jagged line into the black. Patel rubbed his jaw, muttering something about needing confirmation, but Tanner cut him off. "Confirmation. They killed our people. That's all the proof we need." The plan came together fast. Too fast, maybe, but nobody cared. We take every ship we had, follow the signal, and hit them before they could hit us again. Risky didn't even begin to cover it. Our ships weren't built for war. They were prospectors, haulers, relics from a time when humanity thought the stars were ours for the taking, against whatever those aliens had. Sleek, deadly, precise. We were a junkyard armada, but that's what made it us. We didn't win pretty. We won ugly. Launch day hit like a punch. The hangar doors groaned open, revealing Titan's bruised sky, all rust and gray. And one by one, our ships roared to life. I was on the Stalwart. A beat-up freighter Tanner had turned into a battering ram, its hull bristling with jury-rigged guns. He'd named it after his kid sister, lost in some Earthside riot years back. Another ghost riding with us. I strapped into the co-pilot seat, my hands shaky on the controls, while Tanner took the helm, his grin sharp enough to cut glass. "Ready to make some noise, kid?" he asked. I nodded, throat tight. Noise was an understatement. The fleet lifted off in a ragged chorus of engines. 38 ships total, crewed by miners and techs who'd never fired a shot in their lives. Over the comms, voices crackled. Nervous laughs, prayers, curses. Lena's ship, the Vindicator, led the way, her signal tracing gear locked on the alien trail. We punched through Titan's Atmo, the G-forces pinning me back. And then we were out, swallowed by the void. Stars glittered like cold eyes watching us stumble into a fight we didn't fully understand. I kept waiting for doubt to creep in, but it didn't. All I felt was heat, a fire that had been smoldering since the attack, now roaring to life. Hours stretched into a tense, quiet crawl. The Kuiper Belt loomed ahead, a graveyard of ice and rock, perfect for an ambush. Lena's voice broke the silence, sharp and urgent. Signals spiking. They're close, dead ahead, maybe 2 clicks. My gut twisted, Tanner leaned forward, eyes narrowed, scanning the dark. "All ships, weapons hot," he growled into the comms. "If it moves, kill it." The fleet answered with a chorus of affirmatives, and I flipped the stalwart's targeting systems online, my pulse hammering in my ears. Then we saw them. Not the ships, not yet, but a shimmer like heat rising off pavement, warping the stars. Cloaked, or trying to be. A second later, the shimmer broke. And there they were, 3 alien vessels, sleek and predatory, their hulls glinting like obsidian, bigger than ours, faster, deadlier. My breath caught, a flicker of fear clawing up my spine. But Tanner didn't flinch. "Lock on," he snapped. And I did, fingers trembling as I sensed the guns. The comms erupted. Lena yelling coordinates, Paddle ordering a spread formation, someone else just screaming. We fired first. The stalwart's cannons spat plasma in ragged bursts, lighting up the dark, and the fleet followed. A chaotic storm of light and fury. The aliens reacted fast, their ships splitting apart like they'd rehearsed it, beams slicing back at us. One of our scouts, the Drifter, took a hit, exploding in a silent fireball, debris spinning into the void. I cursed, slamming a fist on the console, but Tanner just laughed, wild and unhinged. "That's it, you bastards. Come get us." They did. The lead alien ship swung toward us, its hull pulsing with some kind of energy, and a beam lashed out, grazing the stalwart's flank. The whole ship shuddered, alarms blaring, and I smelled smoke. Shields holding. Barely. I shouted, rerouting power as Tanner banked hard, dodging another shot. Out the viewport, I saw the Vindicator land a hit, a plume of fire blooming on the alien side. Lena whooped over the comms, but it cut short as their second ship fired back, clipping her wing. It was chaos, raw, messy, brutal. We were outgunned, outmatched, but we kept swinging. Every hit we took fueled the fire, every loss sharpening the edge. They killed a dozen of us back on Titan, thinking we'd break. They didn't know us at all. We weren't here to survive. We were here to make them pay. The battle turned into a grinder, a meat slicer of a fight that chewed us up and spat us out. The stalwart rocked under another near miss, the hull groaning like it was begging for mercy. But Tanner didn't let up. He wrestled the controls, banking us hard into a debris cloud from the Drifter's wreck, using the spinning junk as cover. "Keep those guns hot," he roared, his voice over the shrieking alarms. I obeyed, fingers slick with sweat as I hammered the targeting array, sending plasma bursts into the void. One caught the tail of the second alien ship, shearing off a chunk of its sleek frame. It spun, trailing sparks, and for a split second, I felt something like hope, until its beam swung back, carving a gash across our port side. The comms were a mess, a tangle of shouts and static. Lena's voice cut through, ragged but alive. Vindicators hit, stabilizers are toast, but we're still in it. Behind her, I heard someone sobbing, a sound that clawed at me. Patel's ship, the Endurance, was calling out targets, trying to herd our fleet into some kind of order, but it was like herding wolves, snarling, bloody, and half-mad. Another scout went down, the Prospector, its hull crumpling under a direct hit. I didn't know who was on it, but I felt the loss like a punch. Another name to carve into the dirt when this was over. Out the viewport, the alien ships danced. Too fast, too precise, their movements mocking us. They didn't panic, didn't falter, even as we scored hits. It was like fighting machines, not beings. And that made it worse. Machines don't care about the dozen they'd killed on Titan. Don't feel the weight of Jess's scream or Malik's last shove. But we did. Every shot we fired carried that weight. Every dodge and weave a promise to make them regret it. Tanner saw it too. I caught the glint in his eye, a mix of fury and something darker, like he was daring them to finish what they'd started. Then the third ship moved, the biggest one, silent until now. It didn't fire. It pulsed, a low thrum that rippled through the void and hit us like a fist. The stalwart systems flickered, screens glitching, and my stomach lurched as the artificial grav cut out. Tools and debris floated, banging off the walls, and Tanner cursed, slamming a fist on the dash until the backup kicked in. What the hell was that? I yelled, wrestling the targeting back online. Lena's voice crackled through, strained. EMP wave. Half the fleet's dark. We're sitting ducks. She wasn't wrong. I glanced out and saw our ships drifting, engines stuttering, lights winking out. The aliens didn't waste time. Beams lanced through the chaos, picking us off like flies. The Hammer, a bulky freighter, split in half, its crew gone in a heartbeat. I couldn't breathe. The air too thick with smoke and fear, but Tanner just growled, "Not yet," and gunned the stalwart forward, straight at the big ship. Tanner, what? I started, but he cut me off. They want to play. We rammed the bastards. It was insane. Suicidal. But I didn't argue. Maybe because I didn't care anymore, or maybe because I trusted him to pull it off. We barreled through the debris, dodging beams by inches, the hull rattling so hard I thought it would shake apart. The alien ship loomed, its surface rippling like liquid metal, and I braced, hands clenched on the console. At the last second, Tanner yanked the controls, veering us into a skid that grazed their flank. Our cannons fired point-blank, a desperate salvo that tore into their hull, splitting it open in a gout of fire and gas. The shockwave shoved us back, spinning us wild. And I laughed, half crazed, half triumphant, as their ship listed, wounded but not dead. The comms roared back to life. Lena shouting, "Nice shot, you lunatics." The fleet rallied, those still kicking anyway, and we hit them again, a ragged wave of defiance. The second alien ship faltered, its engines flaring out, and Paddle's endurance finished it with a missile volley, a bloom of light that lit up the dark. 2 down, but the first ship, the fast one, slipped away, cloaking again. And that third one, the big bastard, was stabilizing, its hull knitting itself back together like some nightmare. Tanner slumped back, breathing hard, his grin gone. "They're not done," he muttered, wiping blood from a cut on his brow. I nodded, staring at the flickering hologram map. The signal was still there, pulsing stronger now, deeper in the belt. "Neither are we," I said, and meant it. We'd lost ships, lost people, too many. But we'd drawn blood. They weren't invincible, and that was enough to keep us going. The fleet regrouped. What was left of it? 22 ships, battered and leaking, but still snarling. Patil came over the comms, his voice steady again. "We've got their attention. Push forward. Follow that signal." No one argued. We'd started this fight on their terms, but we'd end on ours. They'd underestimated us once. They wouldn't get the chance again. The Kuiper Belt swallowed us whole, a jagged maze of ice and shadow that turned our pursuit into a slow, nerve-shredding hunt. The fleet limped along, 22 ships weaving through the floating graveyard, engines growling against the strain. The stalwart's hull creaked with every turn, patched up with emergency seals that wouldn't hold forever. Tanner kept us steady, his hands white-knuckled on the controls, but I could see the wear in his eyes, cracks in the bravado he'd worn like armor. I felt it too, a heaviness settling in my chest, not just from the fight, but from the quiet that followed. The aliens had gone silent, their surviving ships vanishing into the belt's depths, leaving us chasing ghosts. Lena's signal was our lifeline, a thin thread pulsing through the static. She patched the Vindicator's systems enough to keep tracking, her voice a constant over the comms, sharp and frayed. "It's moving faster now, heading inward. They're running. Running." The word stuck in my throat. After what they'd done, Jessa, Malik, the Drifter, the Hammer, they didn't get to run. But it wasn't fear driving them. I realized watching the hollow map flicker. It was strategy. They were luring us, pulling us deeper into their turf, and we were too damn angry to care. Patil tried to rein us in, his voice crackling through the fleet. We need to regroup, reassess. Our losses are too high to keep pushing blind. A few agreed, their ships faltering, but Tanner snorted, cutting the comms mid-sentence. Regroup while they lick their wounds and come back stronger. No chance. He glanced at me, daring me to argue. I didn't. I couldn't. Every second we waited was a second they got further. A second Jess's death slipped into something distant, meaningless. We end this, I said, my voice low but firm. He nodded. And that was that. The belt tightened around us, chunks of ice the size of mountains drifting too close, scraping our shields. The stalwart took a hit from a rogue fragment, a dull thud that rattled my teeth, and I patched the breach with a foam gun, cursing under my breath. The fleet was fraying. 2 more ships peeled off, their captains muttering about fuel and damage, but the rest pressed on. A stubborn, battered pack. Lena called out a new reading, her tone spiking. Signals splitting. Multiple sources now, converging ahead. It's not just ships, it's something bigger. Bigger. The word hung there, heavy and cold. I leaned over the console, squinting at the map as it resolved. A cluster of signatures, too dense for a fleet, too structured for debris. A station, maybe, or a hive. My gut twisted. A mix of dread and adrenaline, but Tanner just laughed. A dry, bitter sound. Good. More of them to kill. He cranked the throttle, and the stalwart surged forward, the fleet trailing us like a wake. We saw it before we understood it, a shape cutting through the dark, massive and jagged, like a city carved from black glass. It dwarfed us, its surface studded with spires and glowing seams, a fortress floating in the void. The surviving alien ships, the fast one and the big bastard, flanked it, their hulls pulsing in sync with the structure. Drones swarmed out, dozens of them, buzzing like hornets, and the comms lit up with panic. What the hell is that? Someone yelled. Lena's voice broke through, steady but tight. It's their base. Has to be. Readings are off the charts. Power levels, EM spikes. They're dug in. Dug in didn't cover it. The first drone wave hit us hard. Kamikaze runs that slammed into our shields, bursting in flares of light and shrapnel. The Raven, a scout ship, didn't dodge fast enough. Its hull cracked open, spilling air and bodies into the black. I flinched, hands frozen on the controls. But Tanner was already moving, weaving us through the swarm, cannons blazing. Focus, kid, he snapped. And I did, locking onto a drone cluster and firing until they scattered into dust. The fleet fought back, ragged but fierce, missiles and plasma carving paths through the drones. Patel's endurance took point, soaking up hits to shield the smaller ships, its hull glowing red from the strain. We pushed closer, the base looming larger, its spires bristling with turrets that hadn't fired yet. That scared me more than the drones. Whatever was waiting, it was holding back, watching us bleed. Lena's ship landed a salvo on the fast alien vessel, crippling its engines, and it drifted helpless until the Vindicator finished it with a gutshot. One left, plus the fortress. Tanner grinned, wild and unhinged, as we closed the gap. They're cornered now, nowhere to run. But I wasn't so sure. The big ship, the one we'd rammed, hovered near the base, its hull still scared but active, and the fortress itself pulsed a slow, deliberate rhythm that felt alive. We'd found them. All right. Their heart, their home. But as the turrets swiveled toward us, lighting up the dark with their first volley, I wondered if we'd bitten off more than we could chew. The fortress opened fire, and the void turned into a slaughterhouse. Beams thicker than our ships carved through the dark, relentless and precise, tearing into the fleet like a butcher's blade. The Crescent, a patched-up hauler, didn't stand a chance. Its shields buckled, and it burst apart in a silent fireball, debris raining against our hull. I gripped the stalwart's console, my knuckles white, as Tanner yanked us into a dive, dodging a beam that grazed our tail. The ship screamed, metal twisting, and a klaxon blared. Pressure leak. Starboard side. Patch it. Tanner barked, his voice raw, and I stumbled to the wall, slamming a seal over the crack. My hand shaking so bad I nearly dropped the gun. The comms were a nightmare. Screams, garbled orders, static swallowing half the fleet's voices. Patel's endurance was still out there, a stubborn bull taking hits and firing back, its cannons pounding the fortress's spires. One snapped off, tumbling into the void, and a cheer went up, ragged but real. Lina's Vindicator darted through the chaos, her crew targeting the drones, thinning their swarm with every pass. But it wasn't enough. The big alien ship, the one we'd scoured, joined the fray, its beams sensing with the fortress. And another scout, the Sparrow, vanished in a blink, leaving nothing but dust. We were dying out here, piece by piece, and I felt it. The weight of every loss piling on, threatening to crush me. Jess's face flashed again, Malik's too, and now the Crescent's crew, faceless but ours. I wanted to scream, to hit something, but Tanner's voice cut through the haze. Eyes up, kid. We're not done. He swung the stalwart toward the fortress, cannons blazing, and I locked onto a turret, firing until it exploded in a shower of sparks. It wasn't much, but it was something. A crack in their armor, a dent in their smug, silent arrogance. Lina's voice broke over the comms, breathless. I'm reading a power surge. Core of the base. If we hit it, we might cripple them. Patil latched onto it, his tone steady despite the chaos. All ships, focus fire on the center. Give it everything. The fleet shifted, a wounded beast baring its teeth, and we unloaded. Missiles, plasma, anything we had left. The stalwart's guns overheated, barrels glowing red, and I rerouted power from the shields, praying we wouldn't need them. Explosions bloomed across the fortress, fire licking its black glass. But it didn't break. It shuddered, pulsed harder, and then silence. The turrets stopped. The big ship froze, drifting like it had lost its mind. For a heartbeat, I thought we'd done it, cracked their spine. Then the pulse hit. A wave of force that slammed us back, flipping the stalwart end over end. My head cracked against the console, blood hot on my tongue, and Tanner cursed, wrestling the controls as we spun. The fleet scattered, ships tumbling, and the comms went dead, swallowed by a hiss of white noise. When we stabilized, the fortress was still there, glowing brighter, angrier, and the big ship was moving again, slower but alive. They're rebooting, Lina said, her voice faint over a backup channel. That surge, it's a reset. We've got a window, but it's closing fast. A window. I wiped blood from my brow, staring at the fortress, its spires glinting like fangs. Tanner didn't hesitate. Ram it, he said, and I snapped my head toward him. What? He glared at me, eyes burning. We ram the core. Blow it from the inside. End this. My stomach dropped, but I saw it. The logic, the madness, the only play we had.